tonight. Um, yeah, I'm going to try to replicate what I did 2 years ago. It's going to be a little bit more challenging. I must confess that I'm a little bit nervous. It's not about you. It's because of my wife. Yeah, my wife is here. It's over there. Videotaping, by the way. And I never done this in my entire life before. And I can assure you, this is the scariest shit ever. Well, anyways, I'm here. So let's get into the business. Yeah, 2 years ago, I was thinking about how to present this work in a very engaging way. And I decided to use the context in which we were creating, or in which the strategy was developed and the idea was created. And we were in the middle of a new business pitch. Actually, this idea was the central piece of our presentation to win the bank, the Popular Bank. So I believe we had a very nice story behind this paper because it was a very stressful time. It was probably the most important new business pitch in the last 10 years in the ad industry in Puerto Rico. Because this is the biggest client in the island and also I think one of the most beloved brands. So for us was a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I decided to use that to add some drama to the presentation. I don't know if this formula would work in the same format, but I think that the storytelling always is important. So the drama, the real story behind the thinking, I think helped a little bit. And yeah, so let's try to picture this. I mean, in order to begin with this presentation, yeah, I remember. I want to try to remember how I did it 2 years ago. But I show a little video, right in the beginning, just for you to understand how important El Gran Combo is. El Gran Combo is a salsa band. Some say it's the most famous salsa band in the world. And certainly they were the central piece of our work. So I'm going to play this video so you understand and get a feeling of how important this band is for Puerto Rico. And it's going to change. And now.
Puerto Rico's El Gran Combo is the most famous salsa band in the world. They have released more than 80 albums and sold out arenas around the world. They have been playing uninterruptedly for more than 50 years. Only one other world-class musical act claims such an accomplishment, the Rolling Stones. In fact, the New York Times recently put them in the same league. Without a doubt, El Gran Combo is to salsa what the Rolling Stones are to rock and roll.
That's true for Puerto Ricans and for the salsa industry. So picture this. I mean, let's imagine that you are in front of Mick Jagger. Let's say that you, after a lot of struggle, you finally get to meet him. And you have 3 minutes to pitch your idea, an idea that you believe would help the country to move forward. So you got Mick Jagger seated in front of you, and you got your 3 minutes. And you start with something like this. Hey, Mick, I have a great idea. Why don't we change the lyrics of Satisfaction? Mick, I mean, England is kind of fucked up, right? We need to move the country forward. And, this song is not helping much the country because it's always about not being satisfied. And if the people are not satisfied, they're not happy. And if they are not happy, they can't progress in life. So why don't we change it to something more positive? And you can say, for example, instead of saying, I can't get no satisfaction, you can say, I always get satisfaction. Of course, you need to rewrite the whole lyrics, and you need to re-record it, you need to launch it again, And very important, you need to make it number one. So everybody listens to it, dances to it, and gets influenced with this positive message from the Rolling Stones. That's a wonderful idea. We believe that a song can change the world, and we need to change this song. So England moved forward. And you know what? The best thing of this, you don't have to do it alone. There's a bank that wants to join us. A huge bank, Barclays. They want to join us and help you do it. So what do you think, Mick? Are you in or are you out? Well, kind of that happened in Puerto Rico. And the fact that I'm here is because we managed to do it. It wasn't easy. Actually, El Gran Combo says, he said no to our proposal many times until very last minute. But that happened. And I want to show you how planning helped to make this happen. All right? So let's start with some background. The idea was called the most popular song. Probably you have read the paper already or seen the case. Well, Bank Popular is huge in Puerto Rico. You don't have idea. It has not much with other banks in their markets. It almost has 50% market share. That's a lot, And not only is the largest bank in Puerto Rico, but it's also the oldest brand in Puerto Rico. And it's also the only local bank in the island among a bunch of American banks. So this has been the source of pride and inspiration for the country for many, many years. At least until 2010, 2011, where the recession hit the bank very badly. So they needed to cope with the challenging economy, and they started doing what banks do, increasing the fees, denying the loans, becoming more demanding with its customers. So that eroded the brand a lot and hit the sales. They were decreasing. Their customers were, going out and doing business with other banks, to the point that the marketing department was very, very anxious and with a lot of pressure, and they decided to search another agency. And they decided to finish a 25 years relationship with its old agency, So good for us, because we were one of the 5 agencies invited to pitch the account. The only difference between us and the rest of the agencies was that we were handling Santander Bank, the second largest bank in the island. And the Popular Bank knew that, because they sent us a letter with a very polite invitation to resign the account in advance. So we can have access to, to the brief and all the information. They got the power to do that, and they did it. So here we are, a Saturday morning, 8:30, in our boss's backyard, discussing what to do. And I remember this very clearly because he breaks, the conversation saying something like, okay, guys, if you're going to pursue glory or another job if we lose this pitch, we are going to do it together. So we need to decide now, what are we going to do? And after a couple of alcoholic drinks at the 8:30 in the morning, you can imagine, we decided to pursue glory. And that put us immediately in red numbers. In the first place to become the most stupid management team, or JWT, in Latin America. So failure wasn't an option. We also have a banner hanging in the entrance of the agency with that phrase, failure is not an option. So, that was the environment in which this strategy was created. So we are in the beach. We are in the middle of the meeting with the other agencies. We are all in the same room. The client is briefing us. We are very focused on the information, and then something disrupted, the dynamic. There was this agency discussing, chatting, some phone rings, and suddenly the president of that agency stands up and goes to the client, and they start to chat. The client got a little bit upset, and suddenly the whole agency leave the room. We were told that Santander calls this guy and asks him to leave the room and to start working with them without any pitch. So good for them, bad for us, because that increases the level of stupidity of what we did, right? So they got the second largest bank without any effort, and we were in the competition, at least with one less agency. Well, we are receiving the brief, and we were shocked by the nature of the request. I mean, this is a serious thing. I mean, it's the most important bank, the most important pitch in the last decade. And they asked us, to solve this problem with a promotional activation for Mother's Day and a new retail campaign for a zero charge deposit account. That was it. That was it. We believed that they were tricking us or testing us, something like that. But no, they were very serious about it. And they want us to do this. So, you never challenge a brief. At least that's one of the rules. But we broke it. That was the first thing that planning was in charge of. Challenging the brief and do it in a way that we don't lose the pitch. So we needed to elevate the conversation from a very tactical point of view to a strategic one and convince the client that there was a bigger problem and a bigger opportunity. And if they solve this, they could grow the business and they could help all the products. But more importantly, they could reconnect to their brand essence, which was defined something like propelling progress. And we had the discussion, with example of the paradox that they were facing, because a brand name such as Popular is a promise itself, right? And they were behaving very unpopular. So we needed to align the brand name and what it means to the marketing behavior. So we needed an idea that drives not only the communications, but the entire organization. And we believe that was an interesting challenge for us. So we're in the middle of the pitch, and we have 2-3 weeks to present. So we needed to come up with an idea. At least from our side, we needed to come up with something that sparks the idea. A consumer insight, you might say, or a brand insight. And we decided to go after a brand insight, at least at that stage of the presentation. We get tons of information from consumers that they provide us, and other tons of information that we got ourselves. So, but we decided, to avoid going through all that information and going directly to the primary source of brand insights, which we believe are the employees. So we decided to interview a lot of employees. And after doing that and spending a lot of time, we found nothing. Yeah, we found nothing, and we got nothing. Only a ticking clock reminded us that we got 2 weeks to present. So we needed to make another decision. Are we going to go through the consumer research and spend our last time there and see if we get something, or we try something else? We decided to try something else. We decided to give a last resource the chance to help us. And we went to interview an historian. At the end of the day, we are talking about a brand that has 120 years old. So probably in the history of Puerto Rico, we might find something. So we go to this historian, and to our fortune, he showed us a book that he just finished. We didn't know that. he just finished a book about Puerto Rico, and there was an entire chapter dedicated to Popular Bank. And the first manuscript, the first picture of that book, at that chapter, was this manuscript. And this is the original manuscript of the bank's legal incorporation in Puerto Rico. And one of these lines reads something like, the bank's primary purpose for doing business in Puerto Rico was helping the poor people of Puerto Rico to overcome poverty. So how often we as planners find, a brand purpose 120 years old? So when I got that, I said, oh my God, we got it. We are gonna win this thing. So I start driving back to the agency, and a couple of blocks ahead, I got depressed again. I got depressed because what poverty are we talking about? This is the extreme poverty, right? And this is an island in the Caribbean 120 years ago, in the late 18th century. So there was poverty, but now the poor in Puerto Rico, they got cars, new cars, they got apartments, all provided by the government. They got a debit card with $1,000 they can cash out from any ATM machine. They got flat screens, probably bigger than yours, a better health insurance. So what poverty are we talking about? So 2 blocks ahead, I got happy again, because I realized that a country can be poor in many ways, right? And I didn't have to let go of this amazing discovery, and I could actually use it. I just planning needed to have a interpretation of poverty and make it more contemporary and relevant for the current scenario, right? So you say, okay, there might be another kind of poverty. And we believe we found it in the economic and political relationship with the United States. Puerto Rico is an incorporated territory in a Commonwealth. They have a Commonwealth relationship with the United States. So they receive all the federal funds, all the aid from the federal government, billions of dollars, and that definitely helped eradicate the extreme poverty very quickly in Puerto Rico. But that also created what we believe another type of poverty, which was the welfare dependency and the reluctance to work, which for us in our strategy, we thought that was a more dangerous poverty than its predecessor. And it would be nice if the bank declared war to this poverty, okay? Because it makes sense. More productive people, more business for the bank. So when you have an account this big, you need to make the whole country move forward, right? So, yeah, we got it all figured out. And now we decided to convince the client that there was this thing and there was a fight worth of having. And so instead of gathering and collecting all statistics and numbers to make the show and dramatize that this is really happening, there's an opportunity here, as a planning group, we decided to do something else. Probably you've done it in the past. It's not new. But we decided to produce a documentary, a 5-minute documentary on this situation, on the new poverty. So the planning group wrote the whole script, and we supervised the production of the documentary. We also hired a young filmmaker to do it, and we did it together. So now I'm going to show you a little piece of that documentary so you can have a taste, all right?
Puerto Rico, a lo largo de los 4 siglos que estuvo bajo la dominación española, fue un país sumamente pobre.
Se redujo la miseria, se perpetúa la pobreza. La nueva pobreza es esa del mantengo.
El legado en esta generación es cero.
Si todo se da gratis, tú vas a desarrollar un sentimiento de que yo no valgo. A mí me lo tienen que dar todo.
La gente vive del gobierno, ahí te voy a hablar claro. La gente solicita ayudas del PAN, que si las tarjetas, que si, ¿sabes? Todas las ayudas. Hay personas inclusive que tienen sus buenos trabajos, tienen sus buenos carros y tú los averiguas, están cogiendo ayudas del gobierno. O sea, están pisoteando a los que necesitan ayudas de verdad. Y eso yo lo veo mal.
Somos un pueblo que tiene un superávit de inteligencia, pero tiene un déficit de voluntad para enfrentar muchas de sus encrucijadas.
This is something serious in Puerto Rico. This affects 60% of the population. 60% of the population receive federal aid, and they depend on the welfare, help from the United States. So it's a real barrier for the country to progress. And yeah, we showed this in the presentation. You know what happened while we were presenting this to the client? We made someone cry. And there is always great to have someone cry in your new business presentation, right? So, yeah. So, and especially if it's the marketing director. She was the one that was crying. Well, so we knew we have something good. Now we need to do something, to make it, laugh or to make it happy. So, this documentary did what numbers could never do. So that is why we use it. Well, then, if you remember, they asked us to come up with a activation for Mother's Day and to a new retail campaign for a deposit account. Well, planning brought them a fight, a new fight. Not a strategy or a campaign, but a fight. And I believed, and I know for a fact that this person was crying, not just because of the documentary. She let us know later, but because she realized that 120 years ago, the founders of the bank got it, clearly. They got a purpose for the brand, and they forgot it. They didn't use it. So they were disconnected from the very foundation of this bank, and they got the opportunity to do it now. So it was a mix of emotion, inspiration, and of course sadness about the situation. So we were convinced, and that was our mission as planning department, to go to that new business pitch and convince the client that they don't need a campaign but a fight, and that was our mission. We were convinced that if the bank declared war to this enemy, they could reconnect, more importantly, with their brand essence, which was propelling progress. But they also could help the country economies to go better, grow their business, and reconnect emotionally with people, especially with those who are productive and who were leaving, the bank, because this affects everybody. And also, we could inspire people that are comfortable doing nothing to do something else, something productive in their lives. So everybody wins. So that's what we did, all right? And when it comes to the creative department, when we were working with them, we didn't write a communications task that we usually do, right? We didn't do it. what we did was kind of setting up an ambition in a way of an unfinished story of a bank that wanted to help the country move forward, fighting its all-time nemesis that has mutated to another type of poverty, a more dangerous one, but they didn't know how to do it. So that was the challenge for the creative department. We recommended some, some kind of the way of doing it. We let them know that we didn't want a new message. We don't need a new message. This is a behavioral change challenge that we have now. And advertising, traditional advertising has proven, many times that it's not necessarily powerful enough to make people change their behavior, but art is any type of expression, cinema, dance, music, etc. So we challenge them to come up with a kind of cultural change content, something like that. And they did it, and they came up with this idea, which I'm going to show you basically the video that we sent to Cannes that summarizes the whole work, but you'll see the creative work in this video.
Living off welfare has become a common way of life, so common that it is celebrated in the greatest salsa hit of all time, No Hago Más Nada, which translates to I Do Nothing. This classic belongs to El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico, the most famous salsa band in the world. To reconnect its brand to its essence as a propeller of progress, Banco Popular decided to prompt a national discussion on welfare dependency and to help ignite the productive self of Puerto Ricans, so it convinced El Gran Combo to rewrite history. On August 16th, a simultaneous broadcast roadblocked all of the country's TV and radio stations. The band unexpectedly released a new version of their song with new lyrics. This time, with a completely different message. The song took over the media. A day after, Banco Popular launched a PR campaign to make it the country's most popular song. The song made it all the way up to the top of the charts and generated over $2 million in earned media. In times when banks are particularly disliked, the campaign increased Banco Popular's image and reputation index to a record 80%. It also sparked a debate that grew into a movement of Puerto Ricans committed to the progress of the island.
Yeah, this was it. Thank you. Thank you. I could end the presentation by listing all what planning did. I think that you guys noticed it, right? But I'd like to end the presentation with a piece of advice. I think that the planning discipline and the advertising itself has an enemy also, okay, such as the Banco Popular. And I think it's basically playing safe. That's our nemesis, playing safe. And we as planners, we need to have an ambition. We need to create that ambition in all the people that is involved, but especially at the higher level in the client side. Because sometimes we are very successful, with the little Indians, but we need to do it with the CEO. So in order to do that, so you can get the money to do this kind of work, you have to have a very high level of conversation with the most important people, the ones that take the decision and got the money. And I think that in order to do that successfully, you need to be very well prepared, right? And believe in your idea. So that's my piece of advice. I think that bravery is it's an attribute that we all should pursue. We decided with this work to pursue glory. We just wanted to win the account, believe me. We finally end up, winning like 6 Grand Prix and Cannes in different contests, including the most precious one for me, the APG. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Take some questions.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?